So continuing with the 3.9 enhancements, we continue to work on the value mapping. I grouped a number of enhancements under this area because ultimately they're all about value mapping area and they're all about supporting the same use cases. So there's a number of topics that I'm going to cover here, and we'll look at all of that together through the demos. So first up is the enhancements to multivariate field mapping. This has been extended to allow advanced value mapping with multivariate. This includes support for the null, value like, and value else as source operators, and value skip and value clear as destination operators. And we'll talk about value clear in just a moment. We do not allow value same because when you have multiple fields on either side, it's not clear what the value same is supposed to be referring to. So with the ambiguity there wasn't a clear use case for supporting that operator, and there were some logical challenges implementing it. To recap, for a multivariate value mapping, both sides of the automation need to be supported. There's no major changes to the supported adapters list. The only new one on the list is Endeavor. As a next-gen adapter, it supports this out of the box, and that'll be the same for all new adapters that we release. They will support multivariate and other advanced value mapping operations. So Endeavor's no exception there. You can see a screenshot over here. Now, all of this looks familiar. You've got the checkbox for enable advanced value mapping in this multivariate mode, and you can create your map with multiple operators. Along with this enhancement, we updated the processing order for advanced value mapping. In the multivariate case, there were situations where you could write statements where you could get multiple matches against the rows with advanced value mapping. And so we've handled that situation. Now, so first, all of the standard value mapping rows are assessed. Then we go to the advanced value mapping. The first one that's assessed is null. This can't produce multiple matches, and so it's treated like a standard value mapping. Then we look at the value like statements, assessing them from top to bottom. This is where it is very easy to create multiple matches because you could have a value like statement against two different fields, or you could have a narrow value like statement and a broad value like statement and easily match both of them. So this will assess it top to bottom and it will stop at the first match that it gets. Similar value else, you could put value else in different fields in the mapping and therefore get multiple matches. And so after value like is assessed, the rows with value else are assessed. Again, top to bottom to account for those potential multiple matches. And then after no matches have been found, we'll do a special final check on if there is a row where value else is defined for all fields. This is assessed last. This is pretty much exactly like the behavior for setting a default value as a fallback value. One of the future goals here is to deprecate the default as a separate section and just use this set of value else statements for the default. We also updated advanced value mapping so that it would be supported in combinations where some of the fields do not support value mapping. Do not support the advanced operators. So for example, project fields still do not support advanced value mapping operators, but if you are mapping to a non-project field as part of an advanced value mapping, the operators are allowed on that non-project field. So the unsupported fields are the project fields for all multi-project adapters, and then the status field for Jira due to some of the special handling that status requires. But now in combination with these, you can use advanced operators on the other fields in the mapping. We also added a new operator for value clear. Value clear sends a null to the destination field. This is the same behavior as if you were mapping a one-to-one field mapping and the source field had a null in it and ConnectALL forwarded that null. Now value clear is the way to send that null forward, specifically in a multivariate case. This is important where for some multivariate mappings, you expect one of the fields to have null cases, and you want to be able to map back to that field as well if there's been a change in the other side of the automation. We need to be able to clear that field. And so that's what you can see happening here. The combination of this Jira project with a null team field goes to a specific Rally project. And if something on the Rally side is moved to that project, you want to be able to clear the field on the Jira side. This is a typical pattern that we see where customers use Jira projects, kind of like our higher level projects in Rally, where it represents an entire product or an entire release train. And then they have some field that they use to say which team it's on. Well, they may create items at the project level that don't yet have team assignments. And those items will not have a team field defined. And we want to be able to sync those to the higher level Rally project and vice versa. Now with this capability, we can do that on a multi-project Jira automation. The one gotcha here is that this does only work when either the field or the adapter handles that null value. So there are many fields where if you send a null, the adapter doesn't do anything with it or the end application doesn't allow it. We don't have validation about whether this is supported or not. If you try to send a null to a field, or try to use value clear to a field that doesn't support null, you'll get an automation failure. But generally, this is supported in the cases where you would need this behavior. Um, Another function we added was value mapping with expired values, or we could sometimes call this value mismatch. This is handling that shows values in your value mapping, which are no longer present in the list of allowed values for the current template project. And that's kind of a complex set of requirements there. But it will show a warning. You can see that on the row saying that there's a value mapping mismatch. And then in the value mapping itself, it will show which rows are not allowed. Previously, what would have happened is that ConnectALL would have removed the values when you opened it for editing. And so you would get a partially disconfigured row with no direct pointer to where the problem was, which could lead to corrupting your value mapping when you saved or not being allowed to save or update that value mapping. We warn about these mismatches, but we don't block you from saving. And that's because there's valid reasons to save when not all of the values are in the list of allowed values. For example, if you have a different set of values in different template projects, this functionality lets you change your template project and keep the value mappings for both projects in a single field mapping set. Use case also addresses something that we saw in one of our internal use cases where things are being synced from Rally 100 to a demo environment. And in Rally 100, the values for the investment categories were changed. And there was good reasons to do this. But the project manager on the Rally side didn't inform the ConnectALL folks that this was happening. Again, that makes sense. It's not something that's on their radar. And so the value mapping broke. When we opened the value mapping, it wasn't clear what the problem was. Now this will highlight it right there that says this value is no longer allowed or not in the list of allowed values. And it's really clear what's going on there. There is actually, there's two known issues with this now. The first known issue is that this is currently flagging value like statements. So if you have a value like statement written for a a field that has a dropdown, it's flagging the value like statement as a value that's not allowed. Again, this can just be ignored. The other known issue, if you have a value mismatch and you have a duplicate row in your value mapping, and the list of value mappings scrolls so that it's off the page, the flag that shows the duplicate may not be visible and would prevent you from continuing with saving the automation. We're going to put in a fix to change that sequence. So if you run into a case where you're trying to save over the warning, and I'll show that warning in just a minute, and it's not allowing you to, that could be due to having a duplicate row in the value mapping, and you just need to scan for that. Additionally, we made an update to the universal adapter support with multivariate value mapping. Previously, you couldn't set this in the UI, but it was added to this descriptor, and you needed to make a JSON statement. That is generally not how we wanted customers interacting with universal adapters, and so we actually delivered in a patch the new descriptor setting for is multivariate value mapping supported. So now this can be updated directly in the UI. We fully support multivariate value mapping with universal adapter, and now it can just be set in through the UI. Let me jump over to the demos. So I've pre-configured this automation so we can look at the value mapping here and take a look at the mismatches. You see I have a mismatch flagged. So there is a value mapping mismatch. And if I look at the value mapping here, you can see that I have two different projects with two different sets of teams. So if I look at these team values, I only see my A, B, and C, which are the team values allowed on this Chaz demo project. And if I add a new row and pick my demo project, those are the only values showing up. But a multivariate demo project has teams with numbers instead of with letters. And so that's what's been set here and saved. And I can save that. And I will save it anyway, because this is exactly what I want to save. And here you can see that issue with the duplicate row. So if this was too long, this warning could be off the screen, and then clicking save doesn't allow you to save, and you wouldn't see that message. So you do click review. You can scroll through and see the message, but if it's not visible on screen, it may not be immediately obvious that that's the problem you're running into here. So I can save when I have that warning, no problem there. It keeps both sets of values. I am going to open this up again. This enable advanced value mapping now works exactly the same for multivariate as it does for standard one-to-one field mappings. And you can see here that we have a project field. And if I look at the drop down here, I don't get any of the operators. But when I look at the team field, I do get my set of operators that I can use. And so all of those are the allowed operators that I have. And all of the validation about like the save direction and duplication works for the advanced value mapping operators in multivariate as it does in the one-to-one case. And here I have the use case that I was showing before, where you have the project plus null to a specific project, and going back, you need that value clear. So I will save that. The one other warning that we have around the value mismatch is that when you save the automation, we do warn if there is an unchecked value mismatch. And so we've updated the warning that shows the fields that are identified as required not being mapped, and the value mapping mismatches. These are both warnings that can be ignored. And so you can ignore them and save the automation.